Hello and happy Friday to everyone. I am Zach and this is the Covenant Path. And today, with one day to General Conference, it's an exciting time of year, okay? You've got conference, you've got Easter, a lot of exciting things right around the corner. But I am releasing the temple map that has been teased on my channel the last couple of weeks to the public for free. So that will be in the bio. You can access this map now. Now, this map did take me a lot of time, literal hours that I spent making this map, having to pin 367 temples, look up their exact addresses, be able to put them on here, color code them as well. I'll explain the color coding system here in a second, what each color means. But they're all here on the map. What I would ask, though, if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. I have launched memberships, though, as well. So I will make this map free. Anyone can use it. You do not have to be a member. But if you want to say thank you to me, memberships are available on this YouTube channel. They're 99 cents a month. You can cancel at any time. But that would be a great way to say thank you. Putting that aside, if you don't do that, that's just fine as well. Color coding. The way this map works, maybe you've seen it before, maybe you haven't. Orange. The orange pins on this map are all dedicated temples. So we'll use California as an example because you've got a couple of each color here. So orange is operating dedicated. You could right now theoretically go book an appointment, show up, go to the temples that are orange. They're dedicated. They're good to go. Green is under construction. So if we look at Los Angeles, you've got the Yorba Linda Temple is under construction. It was announced in 21. It will be dedicated in the near future, but green is under construction. Blue means it's announced and in any phase of planning. So it could have a site, it could have a rendering, it might just be announced. But that's what blue represents here on the map. So if I can and could, some of these are in the correct location if they've announced the site location. If they have not announced the site location, though, I just threw the pin basically in the city that was named. The other one is like the weird one is President Nelson back in 2018 announced the temple in Russia. You obviously don't know any updates on it. You don't even know a city. So I just threw it in Russia. So that may or may not be correct. Probably, most likely not. But if it does have a site location, like I think the Hungry Temple, they announced the actual like location. If you zoom in, yep, that's right at the right plot. Anyway, so that's how those pins work. The last pin I'll show you, I'll go back to California, is purple. Purple pins are temples under renovation. So the San Diego Temple has been closed. It's under renovation. It will be rededicated. That's all of your purple pins on this map. So like the Salt Lake Temples, another one. There's a handful on here that are purple. So that's the way this map works. This is the view mode. So that's how you'll have access to it. I'm not going to allow anyone to make changes or edits simply because this took a lot of effort and there are trolls on the internet that would ruin this. But it does have here on the side, because the way I sorted it, I might change this in the future, maybe by next conference. But right now it's sorted by profit that the temples were announced under. So you've got like 4 that were announced under: Brigham Young, Joseph F. Smith, Heber J. Grant. They're all here on the left side of the screen where you can toggle if you want to see them or not. So you can turn that off. Like if you just wanted to see the temples that have been announced under President Nelson's time and tenure as prophet, you could uncheck all of these boxes here on the left and just see what it is. So one thing, I will have this updated post-conference. I'm assuming you're going to have temple announcements in conference. That's a pretty regular thing at this point. President Nelson has never had a conference where he hasn't announced a couple of temples. So I will update this post-conference probably within 2 hours. So if you check back, it will have the new and updated pins here on the map. So that's that. It's, like I said, it's in the bio. Click down below for the link to it. You have access to it if you want to share it with others. that's awesome and great. That's what this is here for. It's free to you guys to use. The other thing I wanted to share though, so we are going to flip over to Excel. I spent a lot of time making this as well, and I don't think I'm going to make this public, but this is church data and statistics. So if you don't know, you can go to the church's website. They have church data and statistics for every nation on earth. Like, for example, I can click on one of these. Let's look at Dominican Republic. You just go to the church's website and they've got the information. So the membership is here on the left, the total stakes, total congregations. The temples number, it does not include temples under construction or announced, does include dedicated temples. So that's where you get this temples number down here. So I took this data and I made something kind of interesting. Now, I've made a couple of guesses, predictions as to where temples will be in conference. And ultimately, I understand it comes through revelation. It comes from God. But this does, what I've done is ran a couple of calculations, basically taken your total church membership. So in North America, we'll use this as an example, line 2. North America has, according to the church's website, which may or may not be completely updated, but North America has 9,636,397 members. Okay. That's in 18,000 congregations, 2,144 stakes, 15,000 wards that you see right here. So using this data, you can run just a simple division problem. Like, this is grade school math, where you say how many members per temple exist. So for example, doing the math here in North America, there is roughly, well, not roughly, exactly as of this church data, 47,237 members per temple in North America. Now, the interesting thing is I calculated that for the world. I paused it for 2 seconds. I'm going to get rid of my face for the rest of the video because I want you to be able to see the data. And if you want to pause the video at any point, you can. That way you can see this for yourself. Just because I don't think I'm going to make this one public. But okay, going back to this. Okay, the idea. So 17,182,096 members. I'm in the bottom left of the screen. We're looking at this. That means that there is, using statistics, just a simple division problem, 46,817 members per temple in the world. So using that logic, you can create an expected temples ratio based off of how many members exist in a country, state, province, whatever the case might be, using the church's online statistics database of membership. So what I mean by that, look, for example, with me, we're right here at the bottom, Washington. This will be a good example you can look at. Washington currently has, looking at this column, 6 temples. Expected, they should be at 6.02. So that lines up really well. There's 281,000 members. So if you calculate that out, right now in Washington, there's 46,967 members per temple, and your worldwide average is 46,817. So the reason I'm doing this whole statistics thing is you can look now at this. This shows you an over and under basically for every continent and country on earth, or state, as the case might be in the United States. Using that logic, you can create an over-under of what temples are overrepresented and what temples are underrepresented. So right here, looking at this, South America is actually the most underrepresented continent in the world. Currently has 58 temples based off of their membership numbers, should have 92. So the interesting thing about this, and I threw this in another video, I don't know if anyone noticed, paid attention, Utah is actually the most underrepresented place on the planet for members and temples. There are 31 temples here. Using the logic of 46,000 members per temple, there should be 46, if not 47 temples in the state of Utah. Going back to this data, you would see that same thing. It's because there's so many members here in the state of Utah. I am from Utah. That's why when I refer to here, I'm usually talking about the US or Utah. Sorry if you're outside of it and I repeatedly call Utah home. But that's what I mean by it. So basically 2.2 million members essentially here in the state of Utah. And that breaks down to 70,000 members per temple. Now, one thing this data does not consider, it does not consider temple size at all. Temples in Utah, by and large, are larger than temples outside of Utah, with a couple of exceptions. It's because a lot of temples outside of Utah are smaller to bring it closer to the members. So this number, even though it says we should have 16 more in the state of Utah, might not be true just because temples in Utah tend to be larger. Going back, though, some of these other places, Brazil would be the most underrepresented country underneath Utah and South America. So Brazil currently has 23. Based off of membership numbers in Brazil, you would expect them to be at 31. Now, the reason why I'm even showing you this thing is in conference, it would not surprise me if Utah got a temple based off of this data, if Brazil got a temple or two, if Chile got a temple or two, if Mexico got a temple or two, if the Philippines got a temple, if Peru, Ecuador, California. That's your top 10. I guess if you take out South America, Argentina would be your 10th most underrepresented place looking to get another temple. So that's where I would expect and not be shocked in the slightest if in conference you hear there's a temple in Peru, there's a temple in Ecuador, there's a temple in California, there's a temple in Utah. Okay. There are a couple of places, other places like using this. You can pause, like I said, at any point in time. Dominican Republic just got their second one last conference. They should, by membership data, be at 3.2. Like Colombia is at 4. You would expect them at 4.6. Venezuela is at 2. You would expect them at 3.77. So it's just kind of interesting looking at it this way. And like I said, I get everything. It's all revelation. And now I've said this over and over, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but you're bringing the temples closer to the members. That's what they said they want to do, is within the next couple of years, have temples within an hour of 80% of temple recommend holders of the church. So kind of interesting. Now, very brief, because I don't want to make this video super long. I feel like, I don't know, if videos in the 12 to 15, 20 minute range are too long, comment below. That's kind of what I've been hovering around the last couple of videos. But looking at this, so North America is very well represented, has 204 temples. You would expect 205. That's within a margin of error. If you're going to use statistics lingo, like you're right on the money. A couple of places that stand out. Canada is a place that stands out. They are overrepresented by 6-7 temples essentially. But like I said, this also doesn't take into effect distance. Like Canada is a big place. When you look at this map, like, yeah, there's 11 temples in Canada, but with how big Canada is, these temples are not really that close together, except for temples in Alberta. But I'm guessing that that's where the central population of membership is in Canada. I might be wrong. That's a guess. But to have 4 temples in Alberta, but these other ones, they're just spaced apart. That way, if you're Canadian, you can get to a temple somewhat reasonably. But going back here, a couple of other standouts, like El Salvador, you would expect probably in the next conference or two to get one. Honduras to get another one. Mexico's under by 6. So if Mexico got 1 or 2 this conference, would not shock me. Nicaragua, maybe Panama here in the next couple of years. South America, as you saw before, is the most underrepresented continent in the world. So you would expect 34 more temples to be there. I don't think that's all going to happen this next conference. I guess theoretically it could. I wouldn't expect that many temples to be announced. If there are that many temples announced, this is going to be a a revelatory weekend. That'll be fun. A conference already is fun on its own, but that would be really exciting for members, exciting for the church. So like any country in South America, I would expect, it wouldn't shock me is what I'm saying if they got a temple. Europe's the most overrepresented continent. Would not shock me if you did not hear a single temple announced in Europe, because right now they're over by 14, what you would expect. The only place really in Europe, and like I said, you can pause this at any point in time because there's a lot of countries in Europe that they don't have a temple, but they also just don't have the membership. You see the membership numbers here on the left. I think the tradition recently in the church has been if you're somewhere between 4,000 to 12,000 members and don't have a temple yet, they've been announcing temples for you. So using that logic, what I just said, let me scroll down to Asia. We can jump back to just Asia in general, but Malaysia is the country I would expect most to be receiving a temple. They have the largest population of church members without having a temple in their home country. So 11,000 members there, no temple as of yet. Wouldn't shock me if this conference, next conference, within the next 2 years at least, you saw a temple announced in Malaysia. Asia in general, though, it's right on par, basically, with what you would expect and what they have. I don't know as if there's any other places other than the Philippines that really are underrepresented. And that's what I'm saying. So using this logic, like maybe the Philippines will get another temple or two this next conference. Oceania is another one that is overrepresented. But when you go back and look here on a map, like it's just so far apart, like these islands. Like I remember the Yigo Guam temple, I believe it was this temple. They were talking about when it was dedicated that previously for members here in Guam, they would have to fly. It was like a 6 or 8 hour flight north to Tokyo. It's like an 11-hour flight east to Honolulu. It's like a 5-hour flight, I think, to Manila, or 6-7 hour flight south to get to, what is it, Brisbane, that had the next closest temple. It was something like that. Just these crazy distances. And so a temple in Guam makes a lot of sense, even though it's like Guam's got 2,500 members. Okay. Yes, that's low. But for them, what a blessing. What a blessing to have a temple on their home country that they can go to. Africa is a little overrepresented. Sorry, confused words there. Benin and Togo, behind Malaysia, have the highest numbers base-wise of members without having a temple. Benin, 6,100 members. Togo down here, 7,141. So I'll, if you want, you can pause it. I'll scroll through kind of slow. Anyway, the United States has 150 temples. 146 is what you would expect. Now, a couple of standouts to me is, like I said, distance is a factor. There are places like Mississippi does not have a temple. Mississippi on here, 22,000 members. South Dakota does not have a temple. South Dakota has 11,000 members. West Virginia does not have a temple. West Virginia has 17,000 members. So it's like using that logic that I was talking about with countries. Like some of these countries, like you just gave one to Guam with 2,500 members. You gave one to Madagascar. Madagascar sitting at, you just had the groundbreaking. They're 15,000 members. It's like, okay, that puts you in the same ballpark. That it wouldn't surprise me. That's why in my predictions, I'm suspecting that South Dakota, Mississippi will probably have temples announced this conference, just because they have the membership to support it and the distance. It closes the gap. A couple places in the U.S. that stand out to me is California. California, using this logic, is 3 under what they should have. Arizona is a little under. And Utah, I've already shown Utah is a little under as well. Up in the East Coast, you don't have temples as much up there. You've got the Boston Temple and then the Palmyra Temple, and that's about it on this map. I mean, without going into Canada. I guess you got the Hartford, Connecticut Temple as well. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island. I will show you numbers here. Maine would be the largest by membership, 11,000 members there. Rhode Island's got just under 5,000 members. Vermont, just under 5,000 members, the same as Rhode Island, essentially. New Hampshire, 8,000 members. So there's some food for thought. Might be in another temple sometime in the next year or two, maybe 3-4 years, announced up in the New England area of the United States. So that's going to be it, though, for this video. Like I said, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't show the opposite end. The most overrepresented place on Earth is Europe and Africa, Oceania. Most overrepresented country using my statistics number is Canada, then Australia, Japan, Germany, and then actually Montana in the United States. So kind of interesting to look at it that way. But like I said, temples obviously come through revelation, not through raw statistics. But I will be posting throughout the weekend. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. We'll be posting there. I will be updating the temple map following the conference that they are announced in, probably within an hour, if not 2 hours. So check back in with that. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I will also be doing some post-conference videos where I go back, see these predictions, see maybe by statistics what was right, what was wrong. Could be a little interesting to do a video on that. But thank you all once again, and I will see you next time.